Welcome back to the BK Nothing But Nets podcast. It's me and John riding solo dolo today. LBL may be here shortly, but no Dylan today. He's busy with the little lady, so it's just me and John today. John, another really unwatchable game, really bad. Since I've been rooting for wins, the Nets are 0-4. So my question to you is simple: should I just keep rooting for wins and the Nets will keep losing?
Most definitely. And if you want to bet some sports money on it, keep doing that because you'll probably become a millionaire in these last 20 games. But yeah, listen, at the end of the day, these last few games, I think the reality is just setting in on how much roster construction this team really needs. I mean, look at Wizards, Portland. They're not great teams right now, but they have way younger drafted talent than we do. Really only have Clowney and Thomas as those young prospects, and you have Claxton left over from a few years ago. But really, it's mostly we have a mismatch right now, a mix of guys fighting for contracts. And as good as a fight they put up on defense, offensively, they've just been atrocious all season. I mean, a 30.5 field goal percentage last night versus Detroit's 54.2 field percentage. I mean, that's just a huge difference. I mean, Detroit sucker punched us and then some. So this team has a lot of things they need to figure out this upcoming draft. And as far as these last 22 games go, I call this Operation Damage Control. No matter how many games you lose, rest your vets, rest your D-Lows, your Johnsons, your Claxtons. Let these young guys get as much burn as possible and secure your own lottery pick. That's the only thing we control right now is securing our own lottery pick. And I hope this team keeps doing what they're doing right now because this tank or whatever you want to call this has not been successful this season. But what the team can't control is this lottery pick and missing the play-in right now.
I want to address this. Gary, was Roach robbed last night in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center? I wouldn't say robbed. I did a poll on my live stream. 60-something% of people thought Roach won. So the popular opinion is Roach won. I thought Tank Davis won enough of the early rounds. Me and Breezy were scoring it. We both had it for Tank 7-5. Most of the people I talked to, I was in the minority. Most people had a slight edge for Roach. But what I would say was this. Roach won the second half of the fight, right? But each round counts the same. So, it's just fresh in your memory that Roach won 10, 11, 12, right? But I thought Tank won enough of the early rounds to get a draw. I understand the argument. And then when you look at the knockdown that wasn't ruled a knockdown, Tank Davis took a knee in that round. That's a knockdown. There's no other way around it. There's no controversy. That's a missed call, and that's a knockdown. For a knockdown, you get a 10-8 round. That 1 point would have changed the outcome of the fight. Roach would have won. So in that sense, yeah, Roach was robbed in that sense. But just if we're not scoring a knockdown, I thought the fight, I think a draw was a suitable decision. I really do. I know people aren't going to like that. You don't I've had 23 professional fights and 70-something amateur fights. No, you don't get to take a knee because you have sweat or grease in your eye. If you have grease in your eye, that's your own fault. If you have sweat in your eye, that's your own fault. If you have blood in your eye, that's your own fault. It's a fight. You're in a fight. You don't get to take a knee. If you take a knee, you're down. This happened to Floyd. Floyd had been knocked down once in his career. He hit Famoso Hernandez on top of the head, broke his hand, right? And you can see he grimaced in pain and took a knee. The ref started counting. That's a knockdown. You don't get to go to the referee and say, hey, guys, I broke my hand. Can I think about this for a second? It's a knockdown. You're in a fight. You took a knee. And that's what happened to Tank. And then he went over to his corner, and they wiped the grease out of his eye. Look, the ref didn't call timeout. If the trainer comes up on the apron, fight's over. That's him stopping the fight. Look, I'm not saying Calvin Ford was trying to stop the fight. He wasn't. Tank got grease in his eye from his hair, and they wiped it out. You can't come up on the apron. That's why, if someone drops their mouthpiece and they have to put the mouthpiece back in, the ref calls time, says go to the neutral corner, and then calls the trainer up to put the mouthpiece back in. You can't just jump up on the apron and put his mouthpiece back. It doesn't work that way. So there was a lot wrong with last night's fight. The level of incompetence, you don't usually get that in New York. New York is usually pretty well officiated. That was interesting, to say the least. All right, talk about the tank real quick. LBL wants the link real quick.
Listen, me and Gary have multiple conversations. I think if you're having a successful tank season, you're a bottom three team. And for us this season, we put up more of a fight than most people thought. Let's give it to Jordy. Jordy established defensive identity this season, a program, a structure that all these guys are buying into. Even the Killian Hayes came up. He was invisible for that first game. Jordy said, I need you to be more offensive. He dropped like 19 points the following game. So a lot of these guys have been very receptive to Jordy. I got to give him that. Jordy came to the season with points to prove. He doesn't just want to be a tanking coach. He wants to be a coach that actually gets his message through to whoever's on the team. The only unfortunate problem is we don't have a core necessarily. We really have Thomas, Clowney, Claxton, and some of these other guys, but we really need that young core if we're ever going to be a serious team. Look at the Pistons. They actually tanked for a few years, got young core pieces, and they look like a well-conditioned machine because they added some vets this offseason. Like, we need to get to those first steps and then get vets. We still have, like, a combination of a different mix of guys just fighting for contracts, and they're living in the moment, but they're not living towards 3 to 4 years down the line when we want to be a serious team. We're in the middle right now. I think Sean and Joe made a mistake trying to be in the middle because it's really a 50-50 chance. 50-50, you out of the play-in, you have a shot at getting top 3, or you did this and you missed out being a bottom team, you get a top 6 or 7. So it goes either way, but I think what we can control right now is missing the play-in entirely and hoping if we're around 6 or 7 worse odds that we can be in that top 6 at the very least. So a lot of work to be done, but hopefully we can right the ship because the ship should have been righted months ago.
I got LBL with me now. LBL,
Hey, LBL.
Since I started rooting for the Nets to win, they're 0-4. Should I just stick with keeping on rooting for the Nets to win so they lose all their games? You're muted. He's got no. Oh, you're on mute. Yeah.
Okay. If I could put on this Texas T-shirt,
There you go.
I think
There you go.
the worst you can do is root for the tank. Right? But,
I'm rooting for the win. Rooting for them to win. They've gone 0-4, so maybe it's in reverse.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just keep rooting
I think
for them.
Locked On Nets, Doug Norrie said the same thing. He said as soon as he started rooting against,
Wait, is he rooting for wins? Is Doug Norrie rooting for wins?
yeah, and he said
He used to come after me because I was like never really like all in on the tank.
Yeah,
Doug,
so he said every time he roots for wins, then they lose. So
he came after me on Twitter. Like, he called me stupid and stuff, and because I said tanking doesn't work, and he came after. Interesting.
So you want to challenge Doug to a boxing fight, Gary? Is what we're going to get right now, a battle of the podcasts?
I got him. I got Doug Norrie. He's a podcaster.
Yeah, but speaking of which, and then just to piggyback on what you said about, I thought the same exact sentiments as you because I didn't see the fight live, but I watched it this morning, and I thought the same thing that there was hardly any action early. In the first 4 or 5 rounds, there was hardly any action, and you could say, well, I could give it to Tank, but when it started warming up and everything, I think that, and you could kind of tell when he knows things aren't going his way, because like all people, they start looking at the ref, he's arguing with the ref about certain things, but that was definitely, even though it was quick as an eye flash, it was definitely taking a knee because it's like, oh, I'm in a vulnerable spot. Let me take a knee so he can't hit me. And it's like, you got to call it a knockdown.
Yeah, I just want to just to be clear, a lot of people don't know the rules, right? If anything other than the bottom of your foot touches the canvas, it's a knockdown. An arm, an elbow, a glove, would you see, right? Anything touches the canvas, especially a knee, that's a knockdown. Like there's no controversy about it, right? Like it's a knockdown. Like I don't know who was the ref. Steve Willis was the ref, right? I don't like. Did anyone interview him after the fight? Like, what were you doing? Like,
and what's the rule? Isn't there a similar rule when you're touching the rope as well?
So there's a rule, and this is more like referee interpretation, right? If the ref deems that the ropes are holding you up, that's also a knockdown, right? So if you're battered into the ropes and you get caught in the ropes, right?
Yeah.
The ref can rule it a knockdown. That's up to the referee's discretion, though. That's a little like gray area, but yeah, if he rules,
because I thought if you use the rope to try to hold yourself up, that they could call that.
That was in Fury Usyk won. That was the big controversy. Was like the ref Usyk was about to get the stoppage. Fury was helpless in the ropes, and the ref ruled him down. I thought it was the right call, but again, it's a judgment call. There's no letter of the law there, right? It's up to the ref. Is all the ropes holding Fury up right now? I say yes, it's a knockdown.
Yeah, but last night he was so close, and the only reason that the only reason that Roach probably didn't hit him again was because of that knee.
He wasn't really hurt though, right? Like
he wasn't.
Yeah,
but it's like it looked like, oh, I'm in a vulnerable position. So let me do this. It's like he almost like was open, and then he just said, you know what? Rather than get hit while I'm open, I'm gonna take this. Because he only dropped for a second and back up. But
this is
still.
Like Tank is great, and I picked Tank to win. I'm not trying to belittle.
Yeah.
Tank's a great fighter.
Yeah.
He's a counterpuncher. It's what he is, right? When he had to take the lead,
that's why he
bad.
takes so long to get started. Yeah.
I don't love counterpunchers. To me, counterpunchers are like mistake hitters in baseball. Like, you're a baseball fan. Yeah. Derek Jeter hit 310 in the playoffs. He hit 310 in the regular season. He hit 310 in the ninth inning. He hit 310 all the time. Derek Jeter was going to get his. Mm-hmm. Barry Bonds, Tony Gwynn. You can't pitch to them, right? They're going to get theirs. Alex Rodriguez, you can get him out. If you make your pitches, you can get him out, right?
Yeah.
He's a mistake hitter. Tank Davis is a mistake hitter. If you fight your fight like Lamont Rose did, he's not going to get you. As soon as you make a mistake, it's over, right? He's a mistake hitter the same way Alex Rodriguez is a mistake hitter. If you don't make a mistake, and you got to be perfect, right? But he's a counterpuncher. If you fight your fight and you blueprint it perfectly and you execute it perfectly, you can do that to him. Now, you got to be absolutely perfect to do it, but this is why people pick Shakur to beat him, because Shakur can do that. I did not think Lamont Rose was capable of doing what he did last night.
Does he, because I didn't watch a lot of Tank, I've seen a lot of his highlights, but I haven't actually seen a lot of his fights. But does he ever go orthodox?
No, he's southpaw.
Yeah, all the way, right? And that was one thing that was really bugging me out while I was watching the fight, because for the orthodox guy, for Roach, it's like, why are you not shooting any jabs? It's like,
I don't really want to see. Tank was trying to bait him into throwing the jab the whole time. You don't really want to jab with a lefty with power like that, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
All right. Because your jab hand is his lead hand.
Yeah.
He's lightning fast. If you don't bring it back fast enough, he's going to go right over the top with it.
Yeah,
right? So,
overhand right, yeah.
And this is why I hated fighting southpaws, right? I hate it because everything is backwards. So now you basically have to jab with lead right hands, right? Because you don't want to throw the jab because it lines up. You know what I'm saying?
Because I'm a natural southpaw, but I learned early that there are advantages when you could switch up, just to throw someone off,
Yeah,
but it also is.
Terrence Crawford does it, but it's like switch hitting. Not everyone can do it.
But it's also which direction you're going to be going in too, because if you still go in the lefty's direction, you're going to
you're right in line for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So. But that's something that I found that interesting, and I thought it was interesting because it was a good fight. It looked like it deserves a rematch. It looked like it deserves a rematch just because you want it really decided. And I would be disappointed if Tank just said, you know what, I'm going to move on, because it's like, come on, man, he tested you. He really tested you.
Yeah. I was shocked how well Lamont Rose, because Lamont Rose, I looked at a guy who's a jack of all trades, a master of none.
Yeah.
He stands in front of you. He doesn't move like Shakur, right? Yeah. He can't sit in and out like Dimitri Bivol. He's none of those things, but he can do a little bit of everything. Like, there's no way that he can survive because he's going to make a mistake because he's not a master. I was really, really impressed with how he fought. I was super impressed.
Yeah.
I did not think he was capable of that. And I know Lamont Rose. I've covered him since he was coming up when Golden Boy signed him.
Gotcha.
I was not expecting him to be able to do that for 12 rounds.
Wow.
But let's get back. Let's get back to this is the knee. Nothing incidental about him falling either. He's straight up took a knee and doubled down by walking over to his corner. Yeah, at that point when you walk over, if the trainer can't get up on the apron. If he does, it's an automatic disqualification. That's how Mike Tyson's knockout streak ended. He did not knock out Peter McNeely. Peter McNeely's trainer jumped up on the apron, if you remember. It's not a knockout. It's an instant disqualification.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did. Like, I'm not saying like he should be disqualified, but by the rule, that's a disqualification. You cannot get up on the apron unless the ref calls timeout. You see it all the time when the mouthpiece comes out. or if the tape comes loose on the glove, they'll call timeout and then they'll bring the ref can't just the quarterback just can't jump up onto the apron and say his mouthpiece fell out. It's like sit back when there's a lull in the action. I will call timeout and call you up. Yeah, there was a lot wrong with that last night.
Yeah.
All
Maybe
right.
it was the ref under the big lights, you know.
But that's Steve. He's regarded. The New York State Athletic Commission is generally regarded as the best in boxing, at least in the United States. It is by a wide margin too. Like Texas is corrupt, Vegas is corrupt. New York is like the one that it's kind of like the shining example. Like I always say this: Austin Trout is a good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Trout fought Canelo and beat Canelo in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Did they give the decision to Austin Trout or the Mexican in San Antonio? Who do you think got that decision? The Mexican, right? He fought Cotto in the Garden and beat Cotto in the Garden. Who did they give the decision to? The guy that won the fight or the Puerto Rican? They gave it to the guy that won the fight. And no one even knew who Austin Trout was at that time. He outboxed Cotto. And if that happened in Texas against a Mexican fighter or a Texas fighter, there's no way Trout's getting the decision. There's no way. It is what it is.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, back to basketball. Yeah.
Basketball.
See now, I think I did tag you guys in something where I said, because I think who was it? It was Pod Thorne kept posting things after the game about this team is better than Detroit. Remember when we were like around 8 and 10, people were saying that, and and now their argument is, well, we were if we still kept those veterans. But I'm like, you got to look at the age of the guys. You also, so one of the points that I tried to make when Pod said that, and I kind of tagged mostly everyone I could, including I think I tried to tag Nate in it as well. And I said, the difference with Detroit is they got all of their young high lottery pieces first. Then they got the veterans,
Right.
So now they have Tobias Harris and they have Malik Beasley and they have Hardaway. Right now they got them after they got the foundational pieces like Duren and Cade.
Can we be fair? Okay, Duren's fair, but Duren wasn't that high of a pick, was he?
Yes, he was.
Was he? What was Duren?
Top, I think he was at least top 10.
Okay, was he? All right.
He was at
He's
least
a man
top
child.
10.
He's still 21 years old. He's a
he just turned
50 pounds, man, child.
He's been built that way since he was in the McDonald's game.
I know.
And that's what I say. How do you pass on?
Like? Yeah.
Like
found them at McDonald's. They put him on the board.
And to use your I'm gonna go way back in boxing history to use an analogy. He's not like a Mike Weaver. He's not like just a body beautiful guy. He's he actually could jump and he actually has skill.
He can put the ball on the floor for 1 or 2 dribbles too. Like he can put the ball on the floor too. He can dribble once or twice too.
Yeah.
Like, can you show our bigs how to do that? Yeah.
But you know what it is? It's like he is a dinosaur right now in this league because so many coaches, it's like rather than figure out, okay, this guy's 19, let's draft him and see what we can do with him. They'd rather just keep playing that. Oh no, I need a 5 who could shoot, or I need a 5 who could do what Claxton can do. And it's like that's the problem with basketball right now. It's like let guys play to their strengths and their advantages. And his strength is I'm gonna stay in this middle. I'm gonna anchor the defense on defense, and all offense. I'm gonna get putbacks and get lobs. So, but that's the problem that they don't allow them to do that.
I want to get into this right, real quick. I'm not making these stats up; they sound made up. But if you take this is how bad it was yesterday. Zaire, Cam Johnson, and Keon Johnson. They were 11 for 49, and then 2 for 25 from deep. 11 for 49 overall, 2 for 25 from deep. What do you make of that, John? I don't even I understand people go cold. Why is Keon Johnson shooting 9 threes? Why?
It's straight up garbage.
He's not a 3-point shooter. He's a horrible shooter. Like,
And I'll
why
take
is he shooting 9?
And I'll take Zaire out. I just look at Cam and Keon. I mean,
That's what I mean.
6
Keon
shots.
Johnson. Keon Johnson.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Keon Johnson shot 9 threes.
It's
Why is
it's
Keon Johnson shooting 9 threes?
he shouldn't be. And at the end of the day, I understand Keon is fighting hard, but I even told you this. He's like that employee that works so damn hard, but the boss is never going to give him that promotion. That's kind of where we are with Keon Johnson. As hard as he's trying, he's
an athlete. Attack the rim. If he
doing
shot
too
9
much.
threes, he better have hit 7 of them because he's not a 3-point shooter.
He's doing too much. And I realized this the last 2 months with Keon since he's been in the starting lineup. He was doing good trying to contribute, but now it's like he's taking all these shots, and it's just that's not going to better your value. That gives us even more of a reason to hopefully draft high, and we kind of just send you off to wherever you want to go, because you can't have somebody like that that's a ball hog. Keon Johnson, I realized he's a ball hog. This guy takes so many ridiculous shots and misses a lot of them. Like his 3-point shot hasn't gone up a high clip, but he makes a few in between. And he doesn't really have a mid-range game. He does layups. So it's really layups and 3-point shots. But, yeah, he can't be taking all those kinds of shots. He's got to, disperse the bread a little bit and share. But Keon is fighting for his life. This is the problem. You have guys fighting for their lives that don't really care about team basketball. They're fighting for their lives. That's why you need a young core that actually build real team dynamics. You don't have that right now. You have guys playing hard defense because they're trying to stay in the league. And that's not a formula for winning. That's why I say this tank is not successful, because these guys are winning games in spite of what our real agenda is here, which is getting a high lottery pick. So this can't be happening. There could be a chance Keon comes back with a small contract next year, but if I draft high, I'm willing to let him go and just let him go somewhere else, because that's not successful basketball at all.
Yeah, can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead. And I want to move on to this.
I believe their starting lineup was 2 for 27 from 3.
Is that considered good?
The 2 for 23. But my point is, like,
it was actually 6 for 39. 6 for 39 LBL.
Well,
so.
No, the starting 5 is
starting 5. Okay.
The starting 5. So now my point is, and the 6 for 39 is not that much better, but think of those 39 shots. So my point now is, and somebody raised this, I don't know if it was Gary or it was someone else that raised this, is when are we going to start looking at the coaching and say, well, why are we taking 39 shots the way that we shoot? I understand Cam Johnson can have an off night, so I'm not saying him, but aren't there still a lot of guys who shouldn't be shooting the 3 that are shooting the 3? And it's like, what are we just expecting? Like, the more we shoot, don't worry, we'll hit 20 if we launch 80. You know what I mean? At some point, what are we doing here? Is it, so that's what I'm saying. Is it their philosophy that, we just need to shoot more 3s than the other team shoots 2s, and that'll help us win?
I want to address that. I mean, I think to a large degree, like when they were playing Oklahoma City, that was clearly the game plan, right? Like, they don't have the talent to match you. So what can they do? They can shoot a lot of 3s and hope they go in. Or like if I have to get into a set and I have to try to score in the mid-range, I have to try to create. They can't do that. They're not good enough. They don't have shot creators. They don't have playmakers. Come down and launch a 3. Hopefully it goes in. If it goes in, we can hang around. If it doesn't, it's going to look like this. I mean, I'm not like, this is what I'm saying. Like, everyone loves Jordan, and I love Jordy too, right? He's done a great job getting everyone to play. These are not offensive schemes. Like, it's a high pick and roll league. And I talked to Nate about this, right? And Nate's like, well, once they get talent, they'll run a more pick and roll offense. It's all like penetrate and pitch. It really is, right? Like, and then shoot an open 3. Maybe it goes in, maybe it doesn't. It's not really, and I understand, right? Like, he's like, if you have James Harden or LeBron James or Luka, it's easier to run a pick and roll offense than it is with Tyrese Martin. Yeah, okay, agreed. I got it. They don't have the personnel to run a big boy offense, so they have to do this. I mean, look at the lineup they're playing. There's one legitimate NBA scorer in there. That's Cam Johnson. And I do want to get this because we do, and I do this every day. Nick Claxton played 24 minutes, was minus 23. Day'Ron Sharpe played 19 minutes, was plus 2. This is not a one-off. I do this literally every single show. There's only been one game since I've been doing this for the last 15 games, right, John?
Yep.
Where Nick Claxton's had a better plus minus than Day'Ron. I'm not saying plus minus is the end-all be-all. I'm not saying it's the gospel. It's every day, and it looks like this, minus 23 to plus 2, and it's every game. we need to start considering this. And that brings me to my next question. John, I'll start with you, but I want to hear from both of you guys. Should we prioritize drafting a center when Nick Claxton is the starting center and this is the kind of production he's giving us? So should we prioritize Queen? Should we prioritize Common Maluak? Am I saying that right, John?
Come on, Maluak, come on.
I'm never going to get that. Should we prioritize guys like this if we are drafting out of the top 3? Because what Claxton is giving us is not okay.
Most definitely. It's definitely on the table. I think the red alarm should be hit off a little bit more since we're coming towards the end of this. And if we have like the 6 to 7 picks, say we miss out on Cooper, Ace, Harper, Edgecombe, and Johnson. At that point, if we have the 6 to 7 pick, I'm definitely willing to consider Kaman or Derek Queen at that point because we really do need a center. I mean, even with Dayron's numbers last night, he only had 4 points, but he did impact the game in those 19 minutes with 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Dayron had 6 assists last night. That's a huge improvement. But the problem is this. If Dayron stays on this team and Claxton's still starting big, Dayron is not going to get the burn he should be getting. He should be getting around 25 minutes a game. He's only getting 19 minutes, and he's either impactful or he's getting into foul trouble, and he's not playing adequate defense. Like, as much as we've seen some really great with Dayron, we also know the flaws as well, which prevents him from being a starter. But Claxton, his numbers, I mean, he just got outbeat by Duren, who's 4 years younger than him. I mean, Jalen Duren's numbers yesterday were astounding.
Yeah, look at Jalen Duren. Look at him. Like, you think Nick Claxton, if we're playing at the Rec, we're playing at the Park, and you have Nick Claxton, and I have Jalen Duren, what am I doing? I'm giving the ball to Jalen Duren in the post every single play. Look at him, and look at Claxton. Claxton is 120 pounds. Jalen Duren looks like a Greek god. Like, look at him.
It's wild.
Here, put him in the post, Jalen. Let him try to defend you.
Yeah, Duren was a plus 29 best of the night, 18 points and rebounds, and he's 250 pounds. Claxton's been stuck around 220, 230 for the last 5 years. Like, if you can have a center that can handle the best bigs in the league like Jokers and Porzingis's, and he can't even handle young bigs like a Duren, you really have to start considering, could a Common Maluak, a 7-footer, or a Derek Queen who's offensively a combo guard be better options than Claxton or Dayron? I 100% agree that we should consider it if we have the 6 or 7 pick. We can't keep doing this with 2 undersized bigs with more Claxton than Dayron, but they're not giving you adequate stuff on offense or defense. Like, I feel like if you draft a center and you keep Dayron, I think Dayron's still going to get enough playing time, and his numbers are still going to be average. So you have to make a decision. So if we draft a Kaman Maluak or Derek Queen, one of Claxton and Dayron has to go. You could let Dayron go, which I think could be a mistake because you can re-sign him on the cheap. But if you keep Claxton with him, that's on table as well.
This is going to segue into the question I want to ask LB. LB, so I want to ask you a 2-part question. First, should we prioritize a big if we're drafting out of the top 3? Should that be a priority? And B, is Marks not going to prioritize a big because he already signed Claxton long term? Go ahead.
I hope you're wrong on the second part of that.
I'm asking. I'm not saying you. I'm just asking a question.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I so too.
Because I think you always get a player who's better. But, the first part, I'm still going to stick with my long time mantra of just get the best talent available. We're in a position where we can't afford to prioritize positionally. And with that in mind, that's why I always get into these arguments with Breezy or anyone else because, whenever they're talking about, well, let's build around Cam Thomas, and he's, we know he is a legitimate, 20
he's
game.
A bucket getter. Yeah, he's a bucket getter.
He is a legitimate 20 points a game or 25 points a game, depending on how you look at him. But the fact that we keep saying, well, now we got to get this 6'9" guy because he's only 6'3", it's like, that's ridiculous. You don't do stuff like that. You just get the best player available who's available at that time. We don't know where we're slotted, whether we're going to be the 6th pick or the 9th pick or even the 2nd pick. But I'm saying, so when it comes to centers, we just have to see who's the best player in that spot. So say if we're a 6th or 7th and those 3 top guys are gone and maybe Trey Johnson is gone, right? Maybe I feel like.
So let me pose this question. This is how I asked the other day. So the top 3 guys are gone. The Rutgers guys and Cooper. Number 4, VJ goes.
Yeah.
We pick 5. So you got Queen, you got Trey Johnson, you got the point guards, Who would you take at 5?
Maluak, you got
yeah.
Maluak still.
Maluak is still there, yeah. Ashley Newell, everyone except for VJ and the top 3 guys are gone. Who would you take? Because I do think that's how it's going to pan out.
Now, here's the thing. Even though I'm always I'm a talent over position guy, right? Like I always get the best potential talent over position. I also look at what a team needs, not so much positionally, but just what do they need. So like if that's what rises the stock of the big boy down in Maryland, because
Derek Queen. I'm a big Derek Queen guy too.
Because we need scoring. What he could give us, he's almost the best in the draft at it. Inside scoring. He's almost the best. He's better than any of those top 3 guys. He's better than Cooper. He's better than Ace at scoring inside. He definitely is. He's just a bucket getter.
That's what I wanted to ask you, right? Because I do think that this draft in particular, and I'm a best player available guy too, so I'm not making this argument. I'm just playing devil's advocate a little bit. I do think this is a center heavy draft where there's a lot of good centers. It is important to have that guy. Would you sacrifice taking the second best player available if you think it's an impact center and there's no impact center in next year's draft? You know what I'm saying? Like I can get wing players, I can get shooters in next year's draft. I may not be able to get an impact big in next year's draft, so I'm going to do that this year. Or would you stick with best player available no matter what?
Well, see, here's what I'm saying. Being that there are some scenarios in which based on our talent base, who we have already, where I would take
Maluak.
Maluak.
John, you want to say it for us
Come
again?
on, Maluak. Come on.
Yeah,
he's the only person I know that can say his name.
Maluak. So where I would take Maluak first, right? There are some scenarios in which, because he is a great defender. I mean, he's a good defender who will get better. And he can shoot the 3, and he is younger than the other guy, and he's taller. He's he's almost 7'1". So there are scenarios where I would take him. So that does depend on the make of the team. But I don't think there's anyone in that draft who is a better inside presence offensively than Derek Queen. And I think that if you have an offensive presence, I think that can change your whole team around. So I would probably lean towards Queen over him.
I would too. I agree with you. But let me ask you this question. Let me push back, because there are cons when it comes to Queen, that he's undersized. He's not hyper athletic. Is he a 4 or a 5? And can he guard 4s? And can he guard 5s? Is he a defensive liability at both positions?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because while I'm looking at him, I think looking at his body type and then looking at what our roster is, there'd probably be a lot of instances where I would play him at the 4 and play Clowney at the 5, just because Clowney is longer and leaner and more athletic. So Clowney might actually get the assignment over him at the 5. But
it depends on the 5. Yeah, if you're playing Jalen Duren,
he's not really a 5 to me either. But he would be potentially a better defender than Queen. So I do see that. But I think when you're in the position of us that has so little talent, I think you go for the talent. And if Queen is a guy that can eventually be a 20-point scorer from going inside and stuff, I think that you have to take him. And he's a very good passer.
Right. And I would like to say this too, because if you do have the 5th, 5th, and 6th pick, some people say they want to take Trey because of the offensive components that he possesses, but his fit with Thomas is the one thing I keep questioning because let's say Trey Johnson outshines Thomas, then you kind of have to choose between one or the other. Whereas if you get Queen, I always said this, you look who Jamal Murray has. He has Nikola. Like a lot of these top combos in the league, they have a big with them. If Thomas had an actual big that can offensively do a lot, I think that makes your offense more dynamic. And the good thing about Queen is he's a combo big. Like it could be a matchup type thing. I think he's better at the 4, but say you have another big, you could put him at the 5 and then switch Clowney to the 4. Like switchability is something we need right now. That's been the problem with Claxton. We can't move him to the 4. Like he has no offensive evolution to his game where you can risk him being a power forward in your team. It just doesn't work. Whereas with Queen, he steps ahead of where Claxton is right now, and he's way younger. So if we get Queen, I think he's a better power forward for us in the future, but he could also play the big on a matchup need. And we need switchability and versatility on this team. So I would actually lean more towards Queen if I had the 5th or 6th pick in this draft than I would Trey Johnson.
Let me blast off with this blaspheme, all right?
Mm-hmm.
This blasphemy. I already think that Trey Johnson is going to be a better scorer than Cam Thomas. I already think that. So
I'm not saying you're wrong. I've watched I've watched both guys play almost every single game of their career. I'm a Longhorns fan. I watch Trey Johnson every game, and I watch Cam Thomas every game. I get what you're saying, but like Cam's already done it. Cam can average 28 points a game if you wanted him to, right? But go ahead, make the argument. I want to hear it.
So my argument is, say that we don't go. What I'm trying to say is I'm not going to avoid, like, if who I want is not there, I'm not going to avoid Trey Johnson just because we have Cam Thomas. We're not a good team. Yeah. We're not a good enough team to pass him over just because, well, we already have Cam Thomas, So what I'm saying is you figure that out later. And see, that's part of the argument that Gary and I had for so long, where we said, remember, we said this before the season. We said, you play Cam at the 1, make him a point guard, make him show you that he's just no good at being a point guard, right? And then, because I know there was somebody on Twitter, I think it's the Clowney Muse guy, that said, well, we can just go with 2 combo guards, and combo guards are the future. And I'm like, no. A combo guard, and this is where people get it wrong, because they're saying, well, combo guards are the future. And it's like, no, they're not. Combo guards are point guards who could also shoot, basically, who can have someone else come in. They can slide over to the 2 spot, and they can hit shots on the catch and everything. So it's really rare to have combo guards who can lead your team. So like a Dame Lillard is a point guard who could be a 2 guard.
But he's still more a point. Like Steph and Kyrie are probably better, especially Steph. Steph's I don't care. Like Steph's the greatest point guard of all time. That's not bad for a 2 guard. Steph's a 2 guard. I don't care what anyone says.
Steph's
you're right. A 2 guard. Right. Bron's a 1, and Duncan's a 5. Yeah.
Not but still. But I'm saying, he could slide over, because remember, that's how they won the first chip. Is Sean Livingston was doing a lot of that heavy work.
And then on their last, Draymond was the point guard, right? Steph is better off the ball.
With those kind of, I forgot about Kyrie, but you're also right about Kyrie as well. So, but what I'm saying is, but you never get a 2 guard and say, okay, well, now you're going to be the point. You never take a guy that's a 2 guard and say, okay, well, now you're going to be a point, because they tried.
Let me. It is DeMar DeRozan. He can kind of run the point.
Not really.
Not really.
A little bit
though. Yeah.
You're talking about stretches. Like of like a point, like a few plays a game, but when you're talking about like him and Beal and everything, they can't do it if they did it against pressure.
I agree.
So that's part of the problem. That's why I sent you guys that thing. I sent you guys something. I tagged you on something where is it? Where Kmart was on Gil's Arena talking about how they don't pressure guys anymore, bringing the ball up the court and everything. And that's part of it too, because we want, for Nets fans, for the last 10 years, one of our Achilles heels has been we never have enough ball handlers when it's time to bring the ball up against good defenses. And then the end result is we end up taking bad shots with 5 seconds left.
That's the difference with D'Lo. When D'Lo plays, for when he does it, is D'Lo can bring the ball up and he can create offense for others and create shots for others. We don't have any point guards and we don't have any wings, but we have plenty. We don't have any bigs, but we have plenty of versatile wings. We have plenty of those. But we got Killian Hayes now, right? He can hit. Have you been impressed so far, LBL? I would say I was not all for bringing up Killian Hayes like some people were. So far, so good with Killian Hayes, right? He is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think that's what we really wanted him to settle into. Like, we didn't expect him to be a world beater, but we wanted him to prove that, much like, because, like a guy that looks way better on certain, the guy who's playing backup point guard for the Knicks, right? The lefty, what's his name?
Cameron Payne?
Yeah, Cameron Payne. To me, he's a guy that on very good teams, people tend to overrate him.
Yeah.
But then when you actually see him play, and you really need him, then it's like, oh, now I see why you're a backup. So
exactly.
So that's kind of what I was expecting from Killian Hayes. And he doesn't have the experience or the reps or even the offense that Payne has. But so that's pretty much what I expect in a good way.
I want to ask you this question. I got the Tankathon standings up. I don't know. The Nets are now they're only 2.5 back from Chicago. But honestly, to win 3 games, that's going to take the Nets a month. It's not doable. They could do it. It's not out of the realm of reality. It doesn't look like they're going to get into the play-in when they're 3 games back and they can't win any games. Where do the Nets go from here? What is their direction? I can tell you the direction of every other team on this list. Portland is trying to win games. Portland doesn't care about draft position. Portland is ahead of schedule. Portland is trying to win games. Charlotte, Utah, they're trying to tank. What is the direction of the Brooklyn Nets, LBL?
Yeah, I would say that the direction is still sideways, because as long as Cy is our owner and Marks is our leader, I don't think that there is any way. And it was really quite embarrassing to see Nets Daily say, "Oh, the tank is back on," and it's like, you've been such an opponent of the tank, and it's like you're just the shill for Marks. So anyway, but
so there wasn't a tank. Thanks, Nets Daily.
But to see, and I think that we're hoping the tank is on, but I think people have posted that Toronto has a more favorable schedule and they have winnable games. So maybe Toronto can start winning once they have everyone back.
They're also really good at tanking. They know how to do it. We don't. Yes, look at Toronto's roster. Look at our roster. On paper, they should win 20 more games than us. 20.
Yeah.
Most strategic tanking team in the NBA, the Toronto Raptors. I will hold the cap on that one.
Landry Fields knows what he's doing. This is what I'm saying. I'm going to get to you in a second. So I want to ask you the same question. Landry Fields knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Sean Marks has no clue what he's doing. Go ahead, John. What is the direction right now with 25 games left or whatever in the season? Season's 3/4 of the way over with.
I just said it. Operation Damage Control. That's all this is. Now Jordy's thinking about resting guys in back-to-back games. He took Zaire Williams out. We only played 10 minutes. We have a few more back-to-backs. Sit half the guys out for the first one, and then play a few more the rest of the night. At the end of the day, let the losses pile up. Don't care about the wins anymore. Right now, the only thing we have to protect is that lottery pick. You look at the remaining picks we have. The Bucks with Giannis, that pick might be stuck around 20, unfortunately. As much as these other teams are on their necks, Giannis is playing at an incredible level, and they're still winning a lot of games. So realistically, we have 3 picks. They're going to be in the top 20. We have 1 lottery pick. That 1 lottery pick is the biggest pick we have to protect right now. Don't win these games. Lose as many as you can and get through this and try to keep that pick at a decent value because this is not a successful tank. Ned Staley confirmed as much then. Nice he's back on. There was never a tank because we have incompetent management. So protect your lottery pick. And I agree with Dylan wholeheartedly. On draft night, if Marks wants to get a second lottery pick, you have 31 picks to operate with. You can move anywhere you want in this draft. Hell, you could trade for 2026 picks. There should be a lot of movement on draft night. It shouldn't be we just draft a lottery pick and we draft whoever is not drafted in the top 20 bracket. No, move up. Use your Cam Johnson Claxton. I don't care about the bullshit that Cam Johnson's your new guy. He's not your new guy. You're just waiting to trade him for something better. So on draft night, we should be more flexible than just picking who we pick. Like, you have the power to do. We have the power to make this a really good draft night, but Sean Marks has to be able to show we can actually do it because at this point, the only value thing we have right now is the lottery pick because this was not a successful tanking season. So I don't know what's going to happen, but we have the power to make this a good draft night. It's up to management to show us they can be flexible.
I'm not asking you what we all know what the Nets should do. That's not what I'm asking. It's not a should question. It's what are they going to do? Are they like?
And
one
other point I wanted to make with Dylan. Shout out to Dylan for posting it about that proposed trade of where we trade one of our players that you mentioned and another pick to get like the 12th pick, and then we get Fears or something. The problem is with trading even into the late lottery is other teams have to want to do it. You know, it's still not dependent on us. So saying that, oh, they should just take Cam Johnson and our 20-something pick doesn't mean it's going to happen any more than what's already not happened with Cam.
Right. Right. And Gary, you want to know what they're going to do? They're going to put their faith in Jordy at this point. I mean, I agree with what PS said yesterday. Jordy has had a lot of autonomy his first year as a head coach. He's been the ringleader. He's been making a lot of decisions, and Sean and Joe just kind of sat back with their hands tied behind their back. So if we're going to draft night and the belief is Jordy can coach any of these talents, let's say we miss out completely on top 6, whoever we get, Jordy's going to turn that guy into a star prospect or a huge part of the future. But drafting decent talent and building them is way different than having great talent and bringing them to the complete level. That's why I feel like this organization is so bad, because having that type of narcissistic, egotistical mindset isn't good. If you have a chance to draft great talent, take it. Well, I don't know what this organization's problem is with being scared of great talent. They always want to get the aging stars because that's all they know. How about get away from that shitty playbook and actually draft the great talent? That's why this organization feels like they're bamboozling all of us. Because if the belief is you can draft anybody and they're going to be great, that's a load of crap. They could turn out bad. Like, middling talent can only be so good, whereas great talent is what all these teams strive for. The Detroit Pistons would be nowhere without Cade Cunningham. They really wouldn't.
I agree with you, and that's why we should trade for Zion Williamson in the offseason, because you need star talent.
I'm not against that. Like I said, as long as it's after who we draft, after we see who we drafted. But like I was saying, in terms of the Jordy thing, because see, I push back a lot on this, John, especially with everybody who thinks that Jordy is the best thing since sliced bread. Because my thing is, does he have them playing hard? Yes. Does he have them playing spirited? Yes.
Yes.
Do they try to play hard defense? Yes. But really, let's look at some of these guys though. Let's look at Zaire Williams. Like, as much as we like him, he was the 10th pick in the draft. Now, really, has he really stood out so much? He stood out to us because he's better than a scrub. But has Jordy really changed him into a starting type player in this league? I mean,
no, solid role player.
Can you say that about Keon? So what I'm trying to say is, like, we can't say like, well, Jordy will take anybody and he'll make him this, because we don't know that. And like I tried to push back on Breezy before, and I said, well, it's funny because Jordy was there when Keegan Murray was drafted, and I didn't see him turn Keegan Murray into a guy that they even wanted to start. So I want to see the development. I mean, it's not like, it's lost on people. If you take something like
I do want to address this, LBL.
One more thing I'm going to say is I can give more props, and I'm not a Kenny Atkinson guy, but I can give more props for turning Dinwiddie and Harris into NBA guys, into NBA rotational guys who may have, played over their heads and on a bad team that made them starters. But I can give give him more props, Kenny Atkinson, than I can Jordy for what he's done with these guys. Because remember, these guys were also drafted higher than the Dinwiddies and the Harris. Go ahead, Gary.
I want to. Who was it in the chat that pointed this out? It was BTB. You look at Toronto's schedule. Their hardest remaining games are Detroit and Golden State and Dallas. Golden State and Dallas are winnable games for Toronto. They have 3 left with Washington, 2 left with Charlotte, 2 left with Utah, 2 left with Brooklyn, 2 left with Philly and Chicago. Toronto's going to win more games than us. Like, look at that schedule. That schedule is crazy bad. Like, right. Toronto could. What is it? What are we right now? It's 3 games. Toronto's going to pass us.
Yeah, you know what though, they could, but they don't have to, Gary. That's why they're the smartest strategic tanking team.
All of those teams are tanking.
Yeah,
like,
right.
The only hard game they have left is Detroit.
Right, but Gary, they could have won a lot of games, and they did, but they choose to do the social cheat. They already got their franchise guy in Scotty. They got Ingram, the 3rd guy. Now they're getting that 2nd guy in this draft. So there's no reason for them to give the Bulls an out here. The Bulls are the team you're leaving out to hang on a hook right now. But that's the problem. In the month of February, we had a winning record, and we had the best defense. We had our best guy on the team, Cam Thomas. We have Thomas for almost 2 months, and we were winning games. That's my problem with this organization. The Raptors have way more talent than we do. They've lost a lot of games. We have less talent than they do, and we've won more games with our best guy, Cam Thomas. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Next time I'm in, let's make a pizza bet. All right. Next time I'm in New York, the loser has to buy the pizza. All right. I will bet you right now, Toronto finishes the season with more wins than the Nets. You in?
All right. How many slices you want?
I think Toronto wins.
What'd you say, LBL?
I said I think Toronto wins more games.
Look at the schedule. That schedule is crazy. It's all the bad teams are at the end. Like I would have said there's no way because it's 3 games and like that. You look at the schedule, they're going to win somebody. Like they're going to win by accident, John. Yeah. Like look at the schedule.
They could, but I wouldn't blame them if they didn't either because they're doing this way better than we are.
They are. But like look at John. Like I agree with you. They're much better at tanking. They're also infinitely better than us. Toronto should be a playoff team. Honestly, They should be, especially now with Ingram. Like they're a playoff team.
But they didn't want to be because they see how important this draft is. That's what mind boggles me. We had a great record in February, but we didn't have Cam Thomas, and we still won more games while the Raptors were losing all the games. That's what just frustrates me is we don't have the talent, yet we're winning more games and screwing our draft chances. That's why I feel like this organization doesn't have a clue what they're doing. You should be doing what the Raptors are doing, and you have way lesser talent. We should be in the Raptors position right now, and the Raptors should be doing what we're doing, but they are way smarter than we are. That's why something's got to change here.
And they're going to bring back D'Lo, and I'm going to get to look at the greatest backcourt God ever created. At some point, I'm going to get to see this. D'Lo and Cam, and then Clowney's going to be back. And I love D'Lo. I do. He's one of my favorite Nets, like ever. Why is he here? Why is he on this team? Like, someone explain that to me. Like, I love him, but why is he here?
You go first, LBO.
I still would buy him out and hope that, I mean, maybe for his sake, some team might give him the rest of a tryout, like till the end of the year, because I would definitely buy him out, though, and say, yo, go join a contender or something. I know a lot of people think, well, D'Lo is trash or whatever, but he's still a good enough player to come off a bench and help somebody. So
he should have been bought out.
I would buy him out and then just have Killian and whoever be the
LBL. Do you agree that when we traded Dennis, Killian Hayes should have been called up in December, and the D'Lo move, even if it did happen when Killian was here, he should have just been bought out at the point, and we should have Killian for the last 2 months. You agree with that, right? Because if Killian was starting, we wouldn't have an 8-9 record. We'd have a 1-18 record at this point.
Yeah, but I also agreed that freaking Ben Simmons should have been bought out at the beginning. I mean, because look, it didn't make us any more money. What did he lose? Probably $500,000.
He didn't lose anything. He didn't lose anything. It was a penny. He gave a penny.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So he should have been bought out a long time ago, and then we could have started developing guys. So
Seriously, that's why I feel like deals should be. I feel like Hayes should have gone these last 2 months because our record would have been near at least worst fifth record in the NBA if Killian was our guy. And I'm totally fine with that. I like everything Killian brings because it's part of a tank. He does what you're naturally supposed to do. Offense, he doesn't do much, but he throws out a lot of assist passes. He does his job. With D'Lo, he won you 8 out of 9 games. And I think the problem is Sean Marks wanted to get some economic money here with this D'Lo thing to bring nostalgia, to bring, some of that 2018 Kumbaya vibes back. But at the end of the day, it's not 2019 anymore. You should have just bought D'Lo out, and Hayes should have been starting months ago. But now you had D'Lo here, and
That's
you
my
won a lot
point.
of games.
2018, 2019, you didn't have a pick, so you might as well win.
who's
Is that
better?
what Marks is trying?
But we have picks now, Gary. That's the thing.
That's what I'm asking. Is Marks trying to win? Did he bring D'Lo back to try to win? That's what I'm asking a question.
Yeah,
But why would he? Like, you have your own picks now. I feel like
I
this.
don't know
Because
why
he's
Marks does any of the things he does. I have no clue.
I know, because it feels like we're still at 2019, but we have like 31 picks now. That's what my problem is with understanding the philosophy. We are no longer at 2019. We have 31 picks, but he's still playing it like, oh, we have to scrap a whole bunch of pieces together, redo 2018 when you have your own picks. You're just supposed to bottom out. That's it. That's it.
John,
But he let this guy, Jordy, run the ship. And I have no qualms with Jordy. He's a great coach. But when the organization is repeating what happened 4 years ago when you have your own picks, there's something lost there in translation. There really is.
well, who's better, Killian Hayes or Shane Larkin?
Shane Larkin.
Yeah, give it to Shane.
Okay, because I'm thinking about those teams back then, and who was the other little point guard we got? It was another guy.
Isaiah Whitehead?
No, it was before Whitehead. It was a smaller guy. A guy who was like only about 6 feet. I can't remember. I'm trying to think if he went to Georgia or Georgia Tech or something.
Jarrett Jack?
No, it was before. I mean, it was after Jarrett, but
He went to Georgia Tech. So it's like 2014, 2015, 2016 type season?
yeah, I'm trying to think. There was a guy. He had a really good summer with us, so maybe he didn't go to Georgia or Georgia Tech, but he had a really good summer with us, and then we ended up cutting him. But that's what I'm saying. We had these little small Shane Larkin types and everything before, so I don't know. I just think that like here's what I want to say when people want to say like, oh yeah, we should keep Zaire and whatever, right? And before, remember this.
Yogi Ferrell, is that who you're talking about? Yogi
Yes.
Ferrell?
Yes, Yogi Ferrell.
Okay.
What school did he go to?
Indiana.
Indiana. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so Yogi Ferrell. Remember when they wanted to keep him? He had a good training camp and everything?
Yeah, he made the team. He was on the team he got a 10-day or something. He was on the team for a minute.
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. But he really was part of a really bad roster.
Really bad. Yeah.
So
really
this
bad.
is what I'm saying. We're almost back to that. I don't know why everyone thinks that these guys are so much more than that. And I'm not trying to just trash. I love Keon Johnson, but I'm not trying to just trash him and Zaire and Jalen Wilson. I'm trying to just be, just realistic about basketball. And when you look at some of these guys, like what I'm saying is, has Zaire Williams really played himself to say, you know what, he could be a starting 3?
No,
on a 500 team.
He's a rotational guy. He belongs in an NBA rotation. I'm not saying he's a starting 3. He's not, but he belongs in an NBA rotation, right? Like Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson do not. Reese Beekman does not belong in an NBA rotation. Zaire Williams on a playoff team, I still think there are minutes for him. I do. I'm not saying he's playing 30 minutes a game. He's not starting, but if I have a playoff team,
You think
Zaire
he's the
Williams
third or
on the bench.
fourth guy coming off the bench? I mean, you think
Yeah,
he's the third
exactly.
or fourth forward coming off the bench, right?
You know what's great about
Yeah.
Zaire? He's been very unselfish all season. He's taking his shots when he's taking shots. He's done a lot of rebounding work, 8 to 10 rebounds. He's done all the things you want to see him improve on, especially a three-point shot. And his defense has been amazing from the get-go. That's the contrast to Keon Johnson. Johnson's been a bull hog the last month, whereas with Zaire, he's never taken too many shots. He's taking the right shots, and that's what we need. Guys who are unselfish, care about a future vision. All Keon's caring about is his next meal ticket. And it ain't going to be us if he keeps his bullshit up, for sure.
I'm laughing because I'm just thinking about someone just told me, Kessler is starting, right?
Edwards?
Kessler Edwards?
Yeah.
With Mavs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Starting the Mavs. So
That's
I'm just
nasty.
laughing. And when I hear Gary talk about Zaire, then it makes me think, didn't we have that guy?
No, Zaire is better than Kessler. But Kessler Edwards is an NBA rotational guy, right? Like he is.
But didn't we have that guy, Ronaldo Balkman, I think his name was?
Yeah.
Yeah, so but this is what I'm saying. Like when I'm looking at
let me put that around. Crash Wallace. Can Zaire be similar? I know he's not as big and
No.
strong as Crash, but can he? No? All right.
No, I'm saying for me, I think that the difference is by the time Crash was Zaire's age, and I know Zaire came out early, but by the time Crash was his age, he was already, a better player.
Well, Crash only went to 1 year of school too, right? He went to Bama, and he only went for 1 year, right? Yeah, so he came out early too. Yeah, no, but if Crash gave you a little bit of everything. Crash could handle the ball a little bit. He could shoot a little bit. He could D 2, 3, 4. Like Crash gave you a little bit of everything.
And he had a NBA body.
Yeah, he had much better body than Zaire, obviously. Yeah, he was strong as hell. But I'm saying, could Zaire play a similar role to that minus the NBA body?
And see, this is what I'm talking about. It's all about timing. That's what I keep saying. I'm not saying that Zaire can't be, a top 10 player for us, and an important rotation guy. But what I'm trying to say is you don't worry about that while you still need those foundational guys. So this is what gets me crazy about the Nets fans who get all emotional about it. Like, because one thing that Leaf says that I agree with is you're hoping that with those other 3 picks, like you get your number one guy, but you're hoping with the other picks that you get guys that are better versions of these guys. And that's what I'm saying. And if they are, then why do you still need these guys? That's what I mean. So that's what you try to do. So you don't get emotionally attached to these players. You don't.
Oh, Sean Marks does.
He does. That's why we call it out. Like at the end of the day,
but so do some of our fans. Look at all the fans. Because let me give you an example of this.
But let me just but give me 1 second.
Okay.
Sean Marks kept Patty Mills and let Bruce Brown walk.
That was asinine.
Horrible.
I mean,
horrible.
What kind of asshole does that?
And Patty Mills' legs were cooked. He only had one off day the previous year, and you keep him when he's pretty much burnt and spent over a guy who's doing everything for you. How do you do that?
You had a better version of Patty Mills than Seth Curry. Why the hell would you need both of them?
Yeah.
Seriously. These are the decisions we talk about. It's not just this season. It's been going on for seasons. That's what people have to get the short-term memory out of with Sean Marks. They think it's just this season and when the Big Three broke up, his decisions have all been great so far. No, they haven't. This guy kept Patty Mills over Bruce Brown. He also let Andre Drummond go. I would have kept him. He could have been a backup third big at least if he couldn't play in the playoffs. But he let him go too. Like he let a lot of talent go that should have been here at the very least.
Brown in that playoff run, again in that Milwaukee series, Bruce Brown was our second best player. He was.
Yep. And the Celtics series, he was our best player. And KD didn't like his attitude. I don't give a shit about his attitude. The guy was ready to win. Kevin Durant apparently gave up in that series.
What was KD's? Because he had a game where he was like 2 assists short of a triple-double. And he wanted to go back in and get the triple-double. And KD's like, you want your triple-double? He's like, yeah, I can get it. What was KD's beef with Bruce Brown?
Because he publicly, from what I remember, because Brown had given them bulletin board material. You know, like
Oh, right,
he had said
right.
something
He
public.
said it was going to be easy to beat Al Horford and Daniel Tice because they're slower and older guys. And Katie's like, you can't go talk about that. We haven't played yet. I don't care. We're riding momentum. It's Boston. It's Boston. We're New York, Boston. That's trash talk. That's what happens in sports. And Katie's like, you can't be doing that. That's when part of me was like upset with Katie at that point because you kind of gave up in that series, and Bruce Brown was the only guy fighting in that series.
You know
Like
what?
that
I
shouldn't have
saw
happened.
him. I saw we waited outside, right? Because you know what happened as part of the BK block. We went to the games at the Barclays, and then the other two they generously gave us bus and tickets to games 3 and 4 at the at the Celtics spot, right? So we waited outside. A lot of us waited outside, and Bruce Brown actually came out. Uh, you know, you know, but you could almost tell from his body language at that point, he already knew that he wasn't going to come back. Remember, he was like, I think he was a pending free agent or something like that. But I think he already knew he wasn't coming back.
All right, I want to wrap this up. I want to take a look at the remaining schedule for the Nets, the upcoming schedule. Hang on, let me get it pulled up real quick. This is going to be telling because D'Lo is going to be back sooner rather than later, and Clowney, you want to be back. I want to see Clowney more. Like I don't think Clowney got enough burn this year. I want to see Clowney back, and this is why I don't understand why D'Lo's on the team because like it's just too many good players now.
Just sit him down.
Who aren't going to be here. Like D'Lo's not going to be here 3 years. These guys aren't a part of the future. You got San Antonio, Golden State, Charlotte. Do they? Let's be honest. Do they win 2 out of 3 there? John, be honest. Like not what you want to happen. What's really going to happen?
I think they'll beat the Hornets. The Spurs have been putting up a fight lately. They've been putting up a fight with Chris Paul and Stephon Castle. They're no easy out, so they're going to put up a fight against us, and I hope they outbeat us. But I think the Hornets is very realistic. They just every time we face them, Daron and Claxton play the best games of their careers against a team like the Hornets. The rest of the schedule is pretty tough. Lakers, Cavs, Celtics. So we're going to have a lot of tough defeats, but. Just win as less as possible. Stay out of the play and rest D'Lo, Johnson, and Claxton. Let all these young guys get run. These last 20 games could be very straightforward. But if you bring D'Lo back and Johnson's still playing, then it gets messy, like you're saying, Gary.
I've been saying before the season started, you got to trade Doe, you got to trade Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson's still here.
Just sit these guys down. And this is where Sean Marks needs to come in and say, Jordy, listen, I know you want to be competitive. So that's 20 games. I need to sit Johnson down. I got to sit Claxton down. I'll let you Reese Beekmans and your Killian Hayes get all the burn they want. But I got to think about our lottery pick. And if Jordy says no, this is why there needs to be a change here. If the coach and the GM are not on the same page, which they haven't been all season, something has to change. And if we are anywhere near the plan by the end of the season, there's a huge problem in this organization. There really is. So if this could be as straightforward as possible these last 20 games and we're out of the play-in, we have a good shot of getting a decent lottery pick in top 6, no less. But we have to be very simple about this. I know
he's not getting traded. By the way, DJ, how's Zion doing over in New Orleans? He's playing 28 minutes a game, averaging 25.7 rebounds and 5 assists. That's the guy you say is no good. How's Zion doing? Now, all of a sudden, when I say let's trade for Zion, people aren't looking at me like I got 10 heads anymore. But no, I agree, DJ. They're not trading Cam Johnson because Sean Marks is clueless.
Yeah. Wow. And you know,
like you don't know what I'm talking about. How many times did DJ come in here and get on me for saying the Nets should trade for Zion? How many times?
I know, Gary. I know.
Don't put question marks, DJ. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Zion's cooking right now in New Orleans.
All right. So like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to getting Zion. I just said I'd rather know who our picks are first. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. So, but in terms of, and you know how much compensation it is. But since you're talking about, I think that John would have a story here if he says if Marks and Jordy are not on the same page, then Jordy would have to go. Can you imagine what would happen if he fired Jordy after 1 year?
Well, you know, Jordy's getting fired soon because this is Sean Marks. He hires
Send Marks back in. he should resign. This guy is not qualified to be GM. At least Jordy's showing he's qualified to coach a team. Sean Marks does not have the qualifications. So if we are in the play-in, it's because there's something wrong there. There's an imbalance of power between these two guys, and something has to change. But if everything goes according to the plan that it should be, that means these guys eventually came to a huddle and they agreed that putting our main priorities first before the next unnecessary BS is important. So hopefully we miss the play and we get a lottery pick, because that's the only power we have right now is the lottery pick.
And you know what I don't really understand, and I'm going to say it again because I know I brought it up the last time, but, for everybody, it's like, I don't want to tank and I don't want to tank. Essentially, I mean, in a way, we were tanking when we got Durant. Because when we got Durant, I said there were reports that said he could have actually came back later in the season.
Yeah, but it was one of those things, right? Like he could have came back in the bubble, right? And they said he was ready to play in the bubble because there was a 3-month gap there. And it's like, do you really want to do that? Like, I agree with you. Like,
but what I'm saying is for the purists who say, no, I don't want to throw away any games and I don't want to do. What happened there? Why did you?
You didn't want to rush him back when he hadn't played all season. I want to address my boy. DJ is one of my favorite people to talk basketball with. So right now, you can get Zion on the cheap. New Orleans looked to trade him. There were 0 takers. 0 people were interested in trading for Zion. You can get him for cheap. If he has 2 healthy years, you're not trading for him anymore. He's not getting him on the cheap, right? Like buy low, sell high. Right now, you can buy Zion low, and that's why I'm so intrigued by getting him. Like if Zion was in this year's draft, he's a top 4 pick. We're trying to get a top 4 pick. Just go get Zion.
But could we get him for 2 of our 3 picks, not meaning our top pick, but we have 3 other picks, right? Can we get him for 2 of those?
2 of those and Cam Johnson. Done.
Or Claxton.
But no one's taking Claxton.
Well, the Pelicans need a center, Gary. Remember, the Pelicans need a center.
You know who they need? Nick Claxton.
Yes.
You can trade Nick Claxton to one team. I keep saying this. There's one team that will trade you for Nick Claxton.
Okay, or what do you say no to? Like instead of the 2 picks, right? The 2 picks. What about a sign and trade with Cam Thomas?
Oh damn!
Yes, if it gets me Zion, I love Cam.
I would take Zion over Cam Thomas.
I would only trade Thomas for a prime superstar that's in peak health condition. I wouldn't do it for a guy that still has to show us he can be healthy for long term. That's just my thing about it. But I would be willing to trade 2 first-round picks for Zion and a Claxton or Johnson. I think that makes more sense.
Maybe one of our picks in this draft. Let me address my boy DJ. Gary, you really think he's cheap? He's relatively cheap, right? They just put him on. They put him on the trade block. There was 0 takers. Like like you're gonna get him relatively cheap, even though he's playing well for now, because no one trusts that he's gonna play 60. I'm not saying 80. No one trusts he's going to play 60 games, right? That's the problem.
And look what he wrote. He said, I agree he was cheap before, but not no more. Pelicans don't want to trade him anymore, Gary. So it's not happening. It's not.
What do you mean it's not happening?
But he doesn't. No, but I'm saying what DJ doesn't see is that he might have already told them, I'm going to come back and play as much as I can, but then you guys got to trade me in the offseason because I don't want to be here.
Like, if you're the Pelicans right now, this didn't work out. Ingram, CJ, Zion didn't work out. CJ's got 1 year left on his deal. Ingram's gone. They're not going to try to – they're going to get a top 5 pick potentially. If they can get 2 top 5 picks, including ours, or 2 top 10 picks, including ours, bye-bye Zion, and now I'm in full rebuild mode, right?
Yeah, see, I wouldn't give them my top pick.
It depends where it is. If it's 7,
it
absolutely.
On what it is.
If we're picking 7, 100%, it's yours.
Yeah.
For Zion, done. If it's 4 or 3, no. If it's 7 or 6 or 8, probably.
LBL, can I say this one thing? Because I don't know if DJ understands all the context. I would say this one thing. Zion actually fired his representation this year because they were supposed to get him out of the Pelicans, but they didn't, and he fired them and hired new representation. And what I heard from the Pelicans is the only guys that were off the table were Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. Zion is on the table, but there is, like Gary said, there's not a big market for Zion right now. So it's really anybody who wants to take a chance on him. So
You're not going to give
That's
him
their
up for
future
free, but if I
front
give you a
court.
top 10 pick this year, and I give you a pick in.
They don't want Johnson because both of the players he just mentioned are better than Cam Johnson.
right. They want Claxton. I think they want Claxton before Johnson.
Here's
in a scenario.
the trade. Here's the trade.
Remember, Thomas
Here's the
played
trade.
at LSU.
I'll give you Cam Thomas, the Bucks pick, and the Knicks pick. We're done. That's the
It's
trade.
done. It's done for me.
Done. Okay,
Maybe
done.
I would try to squeeze and see can we get a Jordan Hawkins in there?
You love Jordan Hawkins. All right, cool.
Oh, no,
You love Jordan Hawkins.
or can we get a 26 pick from somewhere?
Nah, they ain't giving up. They're rebuildable. They ain't giving up unless you
Yeah.
can get a third team involved. They're not giving up the pick.
Okay,
I gotta.
but I
wrap
would
this up,
do
though,
it
guys.
still. I would still do it. And our team next year would revolve around Zion Williamson getting healthy, and like I said, it's quite possible he could pull a whole Durant and just use the year to get in shape. And then that way we're tanking. Then we get whoever it is, the Bonster, Peterson, whoever, plus Zion, plus the other two.
From what I
picks that we have.
understand, DJ, no one called. There was no one on the other end of the phone. That's what I'm understanding. I could have that wrong, but from what I understand is that they received 0 calls when they said Zion. Am I wrong about that, John?
No, you're not wrong about it. And DJ, this happened 2 months ago when he fired his representation, hired new representation. It was the beginning of the season. So Zion does want out of the Pelicans. He's unhappy there. He never wants to be in the market like that. He wants to go somewhere better. And I told Gary this: if we miss out on this draft completely and don't get any top quality, you have to consider alternatives at that point. And if Zion can be healthy the rest of the season, it's an option to consider. I would probably do it at next year's trade deadline. If Zion can be healthy most of next season, he's playing well, and we're trying to get a top pick the following year, and we want to get Zion. I think that could happen. There's still a lot to be played here, but Zion is not going to be a Pelican much longer, DJ. You can't rebuild around something like that.
It would be interesting, Gary, if we drafted, like, say we drafted 7 or 8, and then we got the kid from Maryland, right?
Queen. Yeah, and we had an off season where we got Queen and Zion and gave up Cam Thomas and the Knicks pick and the Bucks pick.
That'd be wild.
I'm happy as can be.
And that's what. Hey, I'm trying.
Don't say that's a breezy. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta wrap this up, John. Let's come back Tuesday. Let's do a show Tuesday, and we'll preview the upcoming schedule. Let's take tomorrow off. Come back Tuesday. Does that work for you?
Yeah, we could do that.
12 o'clock. 1 o'clock. What time do you want to do?
The same for 12:35.
12:35. All right, DJ. Be in the chat. I want to send you a link. I want to talk about this more, but I gotta wrap this up now. LBL, John, guys, thank you. You got anything you want to plug, LBL, John?
No, just try to just Nets fans, try to watch as much college ball as you can, please, because that makes the difference.
Yeah, like I said, we are in Operation Damage Control the last 22 games. Protect our lottery pick at all costs. Let's hope it turns something good, because that's our only ace in the hole right now. Let's hope it works out in our favor.
All right. We'll be back Tuesday at 12:35 Eastern time. All right. It's March 2nd, 2025 from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.
Peace.
So long.